and welcome back to another episode of LA Rams Central. This is the 60th episode, the Big 6-0. Appreciate the viewers. Appreciate everything you guys are doing. Thanks for the comments. Eric, do you want to make a comment on that since it was your birthday gift from me to you?
Yeah, I appreciate some of the comments that were made. The show wouldn't be continuing if it wasn't for you subscribers and listeners. So just want to say thanks, and let's bring 60 more. Hey, let's keep this going. Go strong.
I agree. Thank you, and I agree. All right, so before we get into the Ram Cardinal game, which we'll start with, the Oakland Kansas City game. It was a heck of a game. Not sure what to make of it, except for the fact that the Raiders really they came out of firing. They did everything they needed to do to win that game, and it felt like the Chiefs were still playing aggravated that they had just lost to Pittsburgh. And I thought about this after the game when I looked at Alex Smith, and he kind of had the face of, you lose 2 games in 5 days. It's going to be a long 11 days for Kansas City to recover on that. I thought the Chiefs played well offensively, just their defense let them down. For the third time in 4 weeks, I make a decision to bench a guy based on matchups, and it may end up being why I lose 3 games in fantasy football because frickin' Amari Cooper decides to go off. I'm like, no way he's going to produce against the Chiefs. He couldn't produce against the friggin', whoever the hell they played the last few weeks. So I'm just like, no. Denver is one thing, but I'm not going to play him. And then he puts up 33 friggin' points. So, great job. Appreciate that situation. But Cooper played a great game. Derek Carr played a great game. Hand it to the Raiders. Their backs are against the wall. It was a must-win, and they won, Eric.
Yeah, well, let's not overlook the fact that Marshawn Lynch got ejected in that game because he contacted an official. However you want to make of it, how he was coming to the aid of his cousin on the field, or that he even ran out to the bench on the field. It's still a no-no. It's not like it was a bench clearing call or anything like that, but I think that changed the whole dynamic of the game. Derek Carr ends up throwing 52 times, so no wonder why his numbers they looked outstanding, but it was byproduct. They didn't have a running game going. But last second touchdown to Crabtree, the Chiefs headed for the win, except Chiefs ended up playing a couple of untimed downs. Their defense did, so they kept them on the field for a little bit longer. But when you give the Raiders a couple of extra opportunities, they're going to end up cashing in these games. So, big win for the Raiders. They needed it after getting trounced the last few weeks. But that might have saved their season. But they got to keep Carr upright. They need to keep Marshawn Lynch in the game. He's suspended for next game, so they need to find some sort of run game to take the pressure off Carr from throwing it 52 times a game for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. It was, Kansas City has some things they needed to do in that game, and they didn't. Defensively, I felt like they played it stupid. You played the same coverage all the way up the field with a cover 2. They should have a cover 2 shell. They should have played a cover 2 rollover onto the Crabtree and just trust that, your best corner can cover Amari Cooper on one series. Now, obviously, when they get close, and for those of you that don't know what a cover 3 rollover is, it looks like cover 2. You've got your corners or your safeties have deep halves, but in a cover 2 rollover, your one corner on the one side has deep halves, your corner on the other side has quarter, and the safety has deep half, but then you roll your safety up over the top, essentially double covering, one receiver or the other. And it really confuses quarterbacks because you can give that same look. I thought it was smart to give up middle of the field until they got inside the 20. At that point, you don't man coverage when you're outmatched size-wise at wide receiver and corner. So what do you do in that situation? Well, what you do in that situation is you send more than they can block, and you drop the rest in coverage, and you play a zone. You don't play man, and you hope that he throws to one of your guys under duress. I'm not sure why Kansas City didn't take that approach. It's their D coordinator's call. But, cover 2 rollover, if you guys are really wondering how effective it is, 38 times. 38 times Peyton Manning threw a pick against the cover 2 rollover. And of those 38 times, 12 of them went for pick sixes. So it's an effective defense. Anyway, I digress. The Chiefs lost. They blew it. Moving on. So now we're going to cover the games this week. So the Cardinals are at...
I want to add one more thing for you, buddy.
Yeah.
The only thing I wanted to add was I think this is the first game the Chiefs really missed Eric Berry.
Yeah.
And I think, they're going to find out what life is like. I mean, I think Pittsburgh just beat them outright, but I think, especially on that last play of the game, Eric Berry was really needed to be where Crabtree was, and it wasn't there. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot of teams try to start attacking where Berry would be.
Yeah. I mean, it would be smart. It would be smart. Okay, Rams at Cardinals. A couple things I want to talk about here. So the Rams' record against the Cardinals before they went to St. Louis, they were 18, 13-2. If you count the Cleveland years, they were 25-20-2. And then in St. Louis, they were 12-18. So their overall record after last year's debacle at home, they're 37-38-2. Obviously, I think the Rams are going to be 38-38-2 when today is over. I did find a couple things funny. Okay, number one, they were talking about the Rams going to London. First of all, Eric, Todd Gurley agrees with you 100%. Did you hear Gurley's comments this week?
Yes, I saw it, and I applaud him for standing up and speaking about it.
Yeah, took guts. And I think it's funny because I'm listening to the Cardinal announcers out here, and they're like, oh, the Rams aren't embracing this move to London, and the Cardinals are, and that's why the Cardinals are going to win. And, the Cardinals got out there, on Tuesday, and the Rams just got out there yesterday, and that's a mistake, and blah. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, it's real easy to take the high road in the London game when it's a road game for you. This is a home game for the Rams, and they have to travel farther than any road game they will possibly play this year. Don't sit on your soapbox and preach to me about how the Rams are taking this game when you are the road team in this situation. It really screws the home team over. Big time.
It does. But here's the thing, okay? Did the Cardinals fly straight from... Did the Cardinals have a layover anywhere?
No.
Okay. So, didn't the Rams stay in Jacksonville?
Yeah.
Okay. So, guess what? You're still flying further.
Yeah.
Because, not the Rams, Cardinals.
Yeah.
Cardinals are still flying further. The Rams had the luxury of waiting another day because they were already on the East Coast.
Right.
Now, you can tell by the sportscaster in Arizona that he doesn't know a darn thing. And they say that because they like to talk out of their behinds. Because if he would have actually done some research and been like, oh crap, the Rams didn't travel home after their game against Jacksonville.
Right.
They stayed on the East Coast, meaning shorter flight, meaning that they don't have to adjust their time zone currently because London is 6 to 7 hours ahead of the Central Time Zone, okay? And if they're 6 to 7 hours ahead in the Central Time Zone and 2 hours back in the West Coast, that's still 9 hours, and that's 1 less hour for the Rams.
Well,
Simple basic math stating the Rams have that luxury of having their internal clocks adjust a lot because they're already closer there.
Yeah. Well, and here's my thinking. Do your research as well. The Rams last year got out to London on Monday or Tuesday, whatever it was. The Giants flew out on Friday. The Giants beat the Rams 17-10. So don't sit there and act like this is just a tremendous advantage for your football team. That's number one. Number two, you still are having the issues you're having. I love what I'm hearing out here. Now, I will give one guy credit. He did say that this is the third time the Rams have traveled to London. It's actually the fourth time in 5 years, but I'll forgive him. And that, there's all of this and there's all of that, and that the Rams are probably just sick of it, and he agreed with it. All of that's true. But here's the bottom line for me. Jacksonville's defense is better than the Cardinals defense right now. I'm sorry, they are. The Buccaneers defense is not as good as the Rams defense. I'm sorry, they're not. You were able to run Adrian Peterson, who commented already this week that his legs were dead tired after the first drive. Okay? So that tells me age is a real thing. Number 3, and most importantly, is the Buccaneers don't have an offense like the Rams do, and they still put a 33 burger on the board against you, or a 30 burger on the board against you. The Rams are coming into this game angry, disrespected. I don't know if they're being picked, but they are angry that they have to play in London. They do feel disrespected because of all of the teams that have 4 wins or more, they're one of the least talked about teams around the league. It's been all Philadelphia this week, from what I've heard. And this game, you actually have people going, oh, the Cardinals look like they might be back on track. Once again, the Rams beat a bad football team, and they're a Pop Warner team. Their opponents beat a bad football team, and they're back on track. Are the Cardinals really back on track? They played the Buccaneers. I told you they were this year's Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to lose again this week against Buffalo. It's just, to me, it's one of those stupid things I'm looking at and I'm going, okay, keep disrespecting them because they're going to win. The Rams have 3 tremendous advantages in this game, 3 of them. Number 1, their defensive line is superior to the Cardinals' offensive line. Number 2, the linebackers for the Rams are physical, which is not a good matchup for Adrian Peterson. And number 3, the Rams can cover 1 wide receiver. I'm a little worried about John Brown going deep on us. Okay? I'm less concerned with the way John Johnson's been playing, but I know we can lock up Fitzgerald with Trumaine Johnson. We've done it the last 2 years. And just say, okay, your other 2 guys are going to have to beat us. We could put 8 guys on the box because Carson Palmer isn't accurate. So there's, basically 1. I gave you 2 right there. And then I'm commenting on why the secondary. But so again, defensive line, linebackers, secondary. Those 3 advantages on the defense side of the ball, they all swing the Rams' way. Offensively, I look at it and go, okay, the Honey Badger is not as good as he was a year ago. And I'm convinced the Cardinals can probably stop Watkins with Peterson. And I'm convinced that Matthew may be able to shut Woods down. Who's going to cover Cooper? Kupp. Who's going to cover the tight ends? Who's going to cover... You're going to tell me that Carlos Dansby, the 30-something-year-old linebacker who's shown that he's been slower this year, is going to be able to cover Todd Gurley out of the backfield? And what about when the Rams run the ball? Who scares you in the Cardinals' front 7 that you believe they can stop the Rams' running game? And we already know the Cardinals are suspect against the pass. This isn't the same Ram team. And what I'm tired of is everybody looks at this and goes, well, this is why the Cardinals are going to win. And they're basically citing like it's last year's Rams team. So for me, it comes down once again to 3 things. The line of scrimmage, advantage Rams. Quarterback play, advantage Rams. Running back, split. I think that's a tie because I do respect Adrian Peterson. But when you look at who they have to go up against, I think the field tilts a little bit to the Rams' favor. I'm looking at this game and I'm saying the Rams' special teams is better, the Rams' defense is better, and the Rams' offense is better. So I'm going to say the Rams win this game 34-17. I think they double them up. Your analysis, Eric.
Interesting. Well, the Cardinals lucky to win last game. One play is a little bit of part of it. The Rams had a huge win last week, and as we mentioned, they stayed on the East Coast. I'm going to hammer this point unless the Rams keep losing, because then I don't know what point I'll make if that happens. But I don't mean to say keep losing because the Rams haven't kept losing. What I'm saying is that the Rams are the better football team.
Yeah.
The Rams, they don't need Jared Goff to put up Carson Palmer-like numbers to win this game. Because I think Palmer's going to have a decent day throwing. He'll throw for over 250. But Goff is not going to be asked to do that. Okay? So you're going to hand the ball to your best player over 20 times a game today. You're probably not going to get Watkins involved as much as you'd like, only because Patrick Peterson's got to be on somebody. So look for Robert Woods to have a big day. And if Woods is having a big day and he's got over 75 yards in the first half, you might see Peterson switch over to Woods, and then that opens up for Watkins.
Yeah.
Also, don't take anything for granted with your tight ends. I think you're going to see Higbee make one or two touchdown catches. But the one thing that I'm curious to watch is the Rams' run defense versus Adrian Peterson. Now, the Rams' run defense, when you start talking about names, Donald, Ogletree, Quinn, and whatnot, you're like, wow, formidable. Okay? They haven't played like it yet. This is a true test. Do I think Peterson is still a good running back? I say still good. Yes. Okay? If he gets, he wasn't getting the opportunities. He wasn't getting the ball in New Orleans. He goes to Arizona. They give him the ball. He produces. Tampa Bay defense, LA defense, completely different. LA defense a lot better than the Bucs. Okay? So is Peterson going to have his 125 yards and 2 touchdowns? No. Is he going to score? Maybe. Okay, so Peterson can be held in check on the ground. He's going to have to grind today. But he'll still get his carries. But look for the Rams to win this game 31-20.
Okay, you got an 11-point game. So we're kind of on the same pace almost. Look, I'm going to give you a name that not a lot of people look out for, Eric. I want you to give me a name on the Rams if you know. I mean, you can go with traditional, that's fine. I'm going to tell you right now, a name to look out for on the Rams. I will not be surprised if this individual leads the team in sacks, and that's Longacre. He's really showed up on film quite a bit today, or this year so far, and he's kind of got a secondary role on the defensive line. But I think he already has like 3 sacks this year, and I'm looking for him to get 2.5 today against the Cardinals because I think this is a quarterback tailor-made for Longacre's pass rushing styles, and I don't think the Cardinals are going to – I think they're going to exhale when he's on the field, and he's going to make them hurt. And that's going to be a big reason why I think the Rams are going to win this game too, is because their defensive line, their backups, are better than the Cardinals' starting offensive line as well, and that just makes it for a very difficult situation. Is there a player for you that's like, watch out, if they have a big game, it's going to give you the sign that they're going to win the game?
Yes. Jermaine Johnson.
Jermaine?
And
okay.
You're going to see the Cardinals play catch-up mode, and that means throwing the ball.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see a very light week 1 stat line from Jermaine Johnson. Maybe not 2 picks, a lot pass deflections, pass breakups. You're going to also, I'll put him down for 1 pick. Palmer's always good for 1 or 2 interceptions in the game. So give me Johnson with the pick. Not necessarily a pick six; those are hard to determine. But if he can shut down a Fitzgerald, or he can keep up with a J.J. Nelson, or he can shut down Jaron or John Brown, and Palmer's only focused on one side of the field, that's going to give the Rams the opportunity to play to their defense, shut Arizona down, and get the W in London.
All right.
Yeah, they're in London. They're not at Wembley Stadium. They're at Twickenham or something.
Yeah.
I think that's where.
And not only that, but today the weather's supposed to be cold and damp and windy. So I think that only makes even more of an advantage for the Rams, in my opinion, in that situation. But we will wait and see. All right, we're gonna jump gears here.
Listen. Cold and windy. Are you serious? That's favor of the Rams. They're not in Cleveland anymore.
Yeah, except they run the ball and they don't need the Cardinals. If they're 2-dimensional, but they're a very sad 2-dimensional right now. They're going to rely on Adrian Peterson. So really they're 1-dimensional because if they have to throw the ball, Carson Palmer's already proven this year he can't do it. So we're the Rams, if they can't run the ball, in those conditions with the style of offense that the Rams run, especially with the checkdowns of the backs, who would you rather have catching the ball out of the backfield, Adrian Peterson or Marshall Faulk? Freudian slip. I meant to say Todd Gurley. He does look like Marshall Faulk out of the backfield.
I'd rather have Gurley. Peterson hasn't been much of a pass catcher on the backfield.
No.
But watch this, okay? Or listen to this, and watch this, because I don't think I get the game here. Here's what you have to watch. Every time teams go to London, okay? Every time. And it's like clockwork. It's like Big Ben. They come out sluggish at least in the first quarter, sometimes the first half. You watch the team that starts coming out of it the first quarter like gangbusters, that's the team that's going to win.
Yeah.
Because as soon as the team starts sluggish, they have a hard time catching up, and then they're unable to catch back up, and you're going to see a lot of You see a lot of miscues early on in the game. Look for those to be cleaned up by halftime.
Unless you're Jacksonville.
Gets out of the sluggish mode first is going to win the game. I think that's the Rams.
Unless you're Jacksonville, because Jacksonville just comes out like gangbusters and keeps it all game long. They've done it every time they've been in London.
Wait home for them, so
exactly.
They can pretty much sleep in their own bed.
And where do the Rams fly out of today? Or this week?
Jacksonville.
You got it.
This week, Jacksonville.
So I'm wondering if there's something there. So anyway, we're going to jump gears. I'm going to be brief on some of these games. We're going to go in depth on only a couple of them, Eric. I think we said 3 each.
Yeah, that's fine.
Tampa Bay at Buffalo. Basically, for me, it comes down to Tyrod Taylor and the Bills' running game. I think Shady McCoy can do to the Buccaneers what Adrian Peterson did to the Buccaneers, and I think Tyrod Taylor is better right now than Carson Palmer. I did say that. And I think that the Bills' defense is better than the Cardinals' defense. This, for me, is a no-brainer. I'm picking Buffalo to win and win big.
Yeah, I'm starting to hop off the bandwagon of the Bucs. They've had way too many games that they've come out look sluggish at. And one of them was they could have easily won the New England game, that Thursday night game. But give me the Bills, but for the reason of the Bills' defense. Now, the offense gets a weapon back today. Jordan Matthews will play after he had surgery on his wrist 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, that's going to add a little bit of a dynamic. Now, he's going to have a little bit of rust because simulating in practice isn't the same as game. So, expect him to be targeted maybe 7 times and only have like 2 or 3 catches. Hey, he also could go off. You never know how that wrist is feeling.
Sure.
But yeah, look for a big ground game by McCoy. There's no Charles Clay. He's still out. So, give me the Bills, and I think they take care of business early in this game.
All right, so we agree on the Bills game. Go ahead and pick the Panthers and the Bears. Get into detail. I'll be right back while you talk.
Yeah, this game between the Panthers and the Bears, Trubisky making another start for the Bears, and he has done what's been asked of him as far as taking care of the ball. Don't turn the ball over numerous times in a game, and he really hasn't. He's been solid for the Bears. He's not putting up the best passing numbers, and you would expect to with Kendall Wright as one of your main wide receivers and Marcus Wheaton and whatnot. Those names don't jump off the board at you saying, "Oh, those guys are 1,000-yard receivers." Zach Miller has proven himself that he can play through the middle of the field, and he's staying healthy this year, which is a big good sign for the Bears. This game, though, I think it's going to be too much Cam Newton. You might see a great game from Christian McCaffrey. He's very shifty. Bears have had linebacker problems the last few weeks. Did win in Baltimore last week, but Carolina's not an AFC North team. They're not going to go to overtime. I like the Panthers in this game, beating the Bears at home. It's going to be cold. It's going to be wet, but I don't think the Panthers actually mind at all. So Benjamin's playing, Funches is playing. They've all been having really good games the last few weeks. So look for the Panther train to keep on rolling.
Yeah, I think the Panthers just have too good of a running game. The Panthers are one of those teams that are tailor-made to win in the postseason, and they've convinced me of that so far this year. Now, I'm not saying necessarily Carolina's going to the postseason, although they very well could. They had a rough game against Philadelphia, but that's a damn good Eagles team over there. So I think, I just think the running game is too much, and they're tailor-made for a cold game in Chicago. So I agree. I think Panthers win. Look for McCaffrey to have a 100-yard game rushing, his first of his career. And I think he could have 50 yards receiving, and look for him to have 2 touchdowns. I think he's going to have a big day today. I think he'll be more of a part of the offense. Not that I think the Bears are bad against the run. I just think they're going to be so focused on, and it might be a second half adjustment where he gets most of his yardage. I just think the Bears are going to be rightfully so concerned about Stewart and Cam Newton that they're going to be like, well, this kid McCaffrey hasn't burned anyone yet that badly, so they may sleep on him a little bit. I think he could pop him for a big one. And it only takes one big run for him to get over 100 anyway. So we'll see what happens there. Tennessee at Cleveland. For me, it's pretty cut and dry. You guys know me by now. You know that I love the Browns, but that's my AFC team if I have one. There's no way they win this game. Mariota's starting to throw from the pocket. The Browns can't stop the pass. They can't stop the run. They can't throw the ball. And they continue to not put Duke Johnson as the starting tailback and lean on Isaiah Crowell, who's good for nothing. So until the Browns either fire Hugh Jackson or decide to start, Duke Johnson at tailback and give Hogan an opportunity to see what the kid can do and let Kaiser learn the system. They're not doing any of those things. They're putting Kaiser right back in the lineup this week, which I think is stupid because you're playing a damn good defense. I got the Titans winning big.
Yeah, I can't pick the Browns to save my life in this game. You're gonna see all facets of Tennessee's game today. Throwing the ball for Mariota. Don't expect him to run much. Expect him to lean heavily on Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray. Maybe even so more Henry. Henry had a great game against the Colts.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tennessee in a whitewash. The only way Tennessee loses is if the whole team gets injured, and I don't think that's gonna happen. So give me the Titans in a blowout.
I'm gonna let you take over on this one, Eric. New Orleans at Green Bay. Look, I told you that the Packers were a one-man team, and that they were somehow able to win a game with one guy in the lineup, and that was it. That guy's gone. I'm not going to waste time on this. I know you want to go into some depth on it, and go ahead. Drew Brees against the Packers defense with no, I repeat, no Aaron Rodgers. Saints win big.
Yeah, this team was looking great before the Packer-Minnesota game. You know, I've watched a lot of Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers over the years because, you know, being in Chicago, we get a lot of Packer games when the Bears aren't on, or if the Bears are on one channel, Packers are on another. And, you know, Brees is always saying, you know, it's always tough to play against you. And usually I watch the Saints in Green Bay. Rarely you see Green Bay go into New Orleans for some reason. It just seems like the Saints are always coming up to Green Bay. And there's mad respect for each other between those two quarterbacks. Well, Rodgers is out. Looks like he won't be throwing for about 6 weeks. So I say the Saints defense lights up Brett Hundley. I say that Drew Brees is a good game outdoors. He's already done it once this year in Carolina where they went and beat the Panthers by 3 touchdowns. So expect more of that. For New Orleans, I see them winning by 2 or 3 touchdowns in this game too. There's no way that I can see Brett Hundley keeping this game close. You know, when you got Drew Brees, if they get Mark Ingram going, it's going to be a long day for that Packers team.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't see how it goes any other way. So, Jacksonville at Indy, pretty cut and dry. I think the Jags are a better football team. I think, you know, I like how the Colts play at home, especially with Brissett, but I just don't think that they have an opportunity to win this game. I think Jacksonville is going to play pretty upset. I'm going to go with the Jaguars over the Colts.
Well, looks like Jacoby Brissett's going to be starting the majority of the games for the rest of the year. Left-handed setback. Now, they've been pretty mum on what his injury is. I mean, we all know he had shoulder surgery. So don't expect Andrew Luck the rest of this year. If he does, I'd be shocked.
Yeah.
So, you know, give me the Jaguars. No Leonard Fournette today because of that ankle injury he suffered late in the game against the Rams. So look for a heavy dose of Chris Ivory. I think you're also going to see Bortles have a really decent game as far as throwing the ball to Lewis and Lee and Hearns. But you're going to see a Jaguars defense that's coming out hungry and looking to stop any aspect of the Colts offense. I think it's easy to stop the Colts, actually. Just contain Brissett and cover T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah.
You know, Moncrief's not going to go deep, so give me the Jaguars by 10 to 14 points.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, I think Ivory's a good backup. And I think Jacksonville, Bortles impressed me against the Rams. He really did. So, you know, I know he had the one bad pick, but that was Bortles is better than the NFL analysts are giving him credit for. I think he's a serviceable quarterback if you put him in the right system, and he looks like he's developing in the right system. So we'll see. Baltimore at Minnesota, not a lot to talk about here. 2 kind of mum teams. Minnesota looks like they're getting better. If you're a Viking fan, you definitely are optimistic in the sense that Teddy Bridgewater looks like he's coming along quickly. You know, Case Keenum hasn't been a disaster for you like he was with the Rams. And you're home against a Ravens team, and let's face it, you know, with Carr out, or with Rodgers out, that really helped him. So I think Baltimore is a different team on the road than they are at home. It's not the Raiders. It's the Vikings defense. I'm going to go with the Vikings over the Ravens. I think it could be a good game. I don't think the Buccaneers are a bad team. Or the Buccaneers. What am I talking about? Let me start over. I don't think the Ravens are a bad football team, and I won't be surprised if they win. I just think that the Vikings are a better team right now.
Yeah, purple people eaters versus the Nevermores. Baltimore still licking their wounds from last week's overtime loss to the Bears, and the Vikings are better than the Bears, and the Vikings are at home. Give me the Vikings all over Baltimore. You're not going to see any time for Flacco to throw the ball today. That D is pretty suffocating. On the other end, they need to get McKinnon and Murray going for the run. No Stephon Diggs for the second week in a row, so look for big games from Adam Thielen and Kyle Rudolph. I think that's what's going to get them through, the big win at home today, along with their sophomore LaQuan Treadwell. He is steadily and quietly starting to put up some good games, so he could be a big difference maker in the game as well.
All right, Dallas at San Francisco. Take it away. Be quick.
I'm going with Dallas. Big game today. I know they have the cloud of Ezekiel Elliott holding over their heads, but San Francisco is not that talented. You're going to see a big game from Elliott today, and I think you're going to see Dak doing a lot of good things out of the pocket, like he did against the Cardinals a couple weeks back on Monday Night Football. However, San Francisco on the other side, I think they're going to be heavily pressured, and their new starting quarterback, C.J.
Beathard.
Beathard, thank you. I don't know why. Beathard, you're not going to see a lot of time for him to be throwing the football, so expect a big game out of all aspects of Dallas. Second, offense, defense, and special teams.
I'm picking Dallas to win, but I think C.J. Beathard is going to have a good game. I think he's going to prove to the 49er organization that maybe they need to look at this thing. And I think the talk of Kirk Cousins by the end of the year is going to cool down dramatically. I like what I saw from Beathard in the game against the Redskins. Now I know change the pitcher, everything changes, can really screw up a defense. The Cowboys are going to have time to prepare for him. All is true, but this 49er offense was clicking to a degree for a short period of time, and then it kind of got back off track really quickly. But Dallas is going to win. There's no question. I just think Beathard is going to impress some people, and I think he's going to have a good showing. Now, whether or not the analysts pick up on that because the 49ers lose is doubtful, but I still think it's...
I don't think the Kirk Cousins to San Francisco is going to go away anytime soon. I mean, Beathard would really have to lead a charge of San Francisco to make them not even think about signing him and putting a lot of money into Cousins. I still think that the 49ers, if they don't get Cousins, I still think they may be a lot to take Saquon Barkley out of Penn State in the draft. Just to give because I don't think Carlos Hyde is going to be there much longer, but they have a lot of work to do, and they can't just tie up all their money into one guy. So unless Beathard starts having these great games, and San Francisco starts winning a bunch of these games instead of losing a lot of close games, I think you're going to keep hearing the whispers.
Well, we'll see. My upset pick of the week, Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. I know you want to cover the Steeler game. I think that was the third game you wanted to cover. Let me just say this. I'm sticking with my belief that seeing a lot of yellow seats instead of people in them hurts the Steelers because they really do thrive off the crowd. The crowd isn't there. They're not showing up. I expect fewer people there this week than there was the week before. And yes, I'm making a point here because Pittsburgh is coming off of a win, and I still think they're going to have fewer fans there than they had the week before. Cincinnati is coming on strong. I like what I'm seeing from the new offensive coordinator. Andy Dalton does well, and the road team in this series seems to dominate. So I should have picked Jacksonville 2 weeks ago, and I didn't. I'm not making that mistake this week. I'm picking the Bengals over the Steelers as my upset special of this week.
I'm going to go with the Steelers in this game. Le'Veon Bell has really taken off in the last few weeks. He's been over at least 150 yards each of the last two games. You're going to see a lot more. Now, that's not to say Cincinnati's defense is Swiss cheese because it's nothing to laugh at. I mean, they're pretty solid. You know, obviously, I love the Brown versus AJ Green matchup. You know, they're not on the field at the same time, unfortunately. I mean, two of the best wide receivers in the game today, and usually they both put on a show. And it's the team that has the least amount of turnovers, because, you know, usually when these two teams meet, there's at least a couple of turnovers by each team as well, whether it's Ben throwing picks or one of their wide receivers fumbling, or don't throw a pick, or one of their running backs fumbling, you know, not with Mixon. And this is going to be a good game for Mixon if he can get on track, see what he is up against a talented Steelers defense. Not the best defense, but a talented defense. But for some reason, Pittsburgh has Cincinnati's number, whether it's playoffs, whether it's in Cincinnati, whether it's in Pittsburgh, king of the Steelers, but it's going to be close. I say by 6.
Okay. Denver at San Diego. I'm sorry, Denver at Oakland. Or Chargers, whatever you want to take your pick. The Chargers have won 2 in a row. Every time. The Chargers have won 2 in a row. They look good. I will give them that. I thought last week's win in Oakland was an impressive win, but, you know, they got a feel for their new home stadium and what it's going to be like, and good for them. I think Denver has really struggled in that loss last week to New York. There are bad losses, and that was a bad loss. I actually look for Denver to rebound and come out angry, run the ball, suffocate Phillip Rivers in the secondary, and just dominate this game from beginning to end. And that's rare to say, because in this series, no one dominates anyone. But I think the Broncos want to prove a point, and I think the Chargers may be a little full of themselves. I'm going Denver big.
Yeah, the California Chargers, they played tough first game against Denver. You know, like I said, they played them tough against Denver. They lost because they got a last-second field goal block. Who knows if that would have won? And their season could have been completely different if that ball goes through the uprights. But I want to say that the Chargers continue them playing tough games. Denver's run for the picking in this game. You know, they're not at home, but, you know, who really is at home in this game? So,
right.
I got to go Denver. You know, with Emmanuel Sanders being out, I mean, that your two biggest pass catchers are Demaryius Thomas, and he's not even 100%, and Benny Fowler third. You're going to see a lot, and I mean a lot, of C.J. Anderson and his backup, Devontae Booker. I think you're going to see the Chargers come out throwing a lot in the second half, you know, maybe catch up, maybe even take a lead, but I think Denver gets this one. It's going to be close. Give it to me by field goal or less.
Maybe Novak misses another one like he did with Tampa Bay. All right, Jets at Dolphins. I know Miami had an impressive win last week on the road against the Falcons, and maybe they're coming on. I picked the Jets in this one, but I very easily could go Miami. I actually think the Dolphins are going to win. I'm picking the Jets just because I think Miami's due to disappoint. And so far, when you pick the way you should pick, you get your butt kicked. And when you pick against the way you should pick, you do well. And this is one of those games. I actually think Miami can win and should win, but I'm gonna pick the Jets right now because they already beat them once, and you know Cutler isn't exactly somebody that learns from a good defense, so or learns from his mistakes. So I'm going New York.
You know, the Jets have been playing tough the last few weeks. I mean, there's a lot of fight in this team, and they played the Patriots really tough, getting out to a 14-0 lead. Yeah, they had what essentially a lot of people say was a bad call. It is what it is. It didn't cost them the game because they were down too much. But, you know, this team could easily be 4-2. For the life of me, I can't take Cutler and the Dolphins. So give me the Jets. I think you're finally going to see that pick in the fourth quarter when it really matters.
Yeah. Well, you said towards the end of the year too.
Parker, so it really just leaves Jarvis Landry out there and Kenny Stills. But the Jai gets going, or Jai Heaton, if he gets going, if he has a good game, it could be the Dolphins winning it, but it's going to be in the legs of the Jai, not because of cover.
Good. Good. I agree. That's good stuff. All right. Seattle at the Giants. I'd love to say the Giants can win this game, but we all know they're not. Seattle's going to win big. Look, the Seahawks have a bye week. They're going East Coast to West Coast. They're built for that. I think they're built to win anywhere with the way they play defense. I don't think that they're a strong team, but I don't think the Giants are a good team. And I think all things being equal, I don't see – I mean, the Giants are going to surprise people. This game's going to be close, but I'm actually going to pick the Seahawks to win this game pretty handily. I think when I look at this game, I see two things that swing to the advantage of the Seattle Seahawks, and that's the fact that they can put pressure on the quarterback and that they can cover anybody, your best, and the Giants don't even have their good on the field. So I'm going to go with Seattle big. But I think it'll be close at halftime, and then they'll pull away. It'll be a lot like the Colt game on Sunday night between the Colts and Seahawks. I think it's going to be a game like that.
Yeah, give me the Seahawks. I'm really interested to see the Giants' offensive game plan in this, because if it's a lot like what happened in Denver, you're going to see a very close game throughout the whole day, and that could favor the Giants in the end. But I just think Seattle has way too much talent, and they're going to pressure Eli. Eli's got to be able to find a way to get the ball out. But who are you going to throw to? I mean, unless Ingram's going to go 4 yards on the field, turn around, catch the ball every time, that's not going to be successful for them. They get Sterling Shepard back today, which is going to help, but it's going to be Seattle winning this ball game.
Yeah. Yeah, and real quick, I'm watching the predictions. Everyone picked the Rams to beat the Cardinals, but Steve Mariucci. So I'm ashamed to be Italian right now, but I digress. Anyway, Atlanta at New England, Super Bowl rematch. Look, the rivalry, the anger that they're experiencing is real. And I think that it's going to carry Atlanta to a pretty good game. In the end, you're in New England. You've already lost to them in a neutral setting. Now you're going to New England. I'm going to pick the Patriots, but I think this game is going to be close.
Something's going on in Atlanta, and it's tough to figure out what that is. They haven't been playing up to the Atlanta Falcons football from the early portion of this year. The first couple of games, 2-3 games, and even last year, it's like they're a shell of themselves. I think that's going to hurt them. They expect this to be a high-scoring game, a lot of touchdown passes. Freeman might get, a lot of touches on the ground. Kevin Coleman out of the backfield as well, catching ball. But I think this game ultimately goes to New England. But I think it's going to be closer than what people think. I know, Atlanta's not the best team outdoors, but they can win no matter where they're at. I just like the Patriots a little bit more in this game.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to be surprised at all if Atlanta wins this game. This is one of those games, if I were to pick Atlanta, I would be just as confident as I was picking the Patriots. But I just think there's something going on, and if they have a lead and the Patriots start coming back, I think you're going to see Atlanta fold like a cheap suit. I just don't see it unfolding well for them. So that brings us to the Sunday night game, Eric, and then we are pretty much done. I do want to do a really quick – well, we already kind of covered the Rams game, but I did want to wrap up with something on that. But really quick, the Atlanta-Philadelphia game, I think this is the game of the week. I don't think it's going to disappoint. I think it's going to be a phenomenal football game. I really do. And as I look at this game and I see it unfold and I see Carson Wentz going up against a really good defense and I see, the Redskins able to run the ball, there's a revenge factor here. This is a must-win game for Washington. It is not for Philadelphia. It's like the Rams and Seahawks game. It'd be nice to win. Couple that with the fact that the Redskins do play better in Philly than they do at home for whatever reason. I think Carson Wentz has a big day. I think LeGarrette Blount has a big day because Jonathan Allen is out. I wish I didn't do my picks before I found that out, but I'm going to stick with it because I do think that the Redskins defense is capable of finding a stop somewhere along the way. I got the Redskins winning 34-28. I don't have it going in overtime, although that wouldn't surprise me. This is just going to be a fun game all the way around. I think Philadelphia's defensive line is really suspect to the run in two fronts. They're aggressive towards the quarterback, and they forget the running back sometimes. That's number one. And number two, and I think this is probably most important, Philadelphia's secondary is not a very strong secondary, and I think the Redskins are starting to figure out the passing game a little bit. It's going to come down to their ability to run the ball and use play-action pass, but I think Kirk Cousins in the revenge factor plays a part in it. That's why I picked the Redskins. I need a score on this one, by the way.
I'm going with Philadelphia in this game, being that they're A, at home. B, Wentz is playing exceptionally well right now. Not to take anything away from Cousins. Cousins is still trying to get on the same page with Pryor. And Dotson and Crowder are not the weapons that Washington envisioned just yet. You're going to see a big game from both tight ends in this game, Hurts and Reed. Philadelphia, if they win this game, they go to 6-1. Washington drops to 3-3. Dallas most likely leads to San Francisco. They go up to 3-3. Philadelphia has a 2.5 game lead in the division.
Yep.
They are not going to take the foot off the gas, and they're going to make sure that they put their division mates as far down as they possibly can. I think you're going to look for a big Philadelphia offensive show on Monday night.
Eric, one thing.
I think they beat the Redskins.
One thing really quick. It's not a 2.5 game lead. It's a 3 game lead because they would have swept the season series. So just remember that.
True. And the standings technically it would be 2.5, but yes, you're right.
So what's the score then for you, buddy?
Score for me for the Philadelphia-Washington game, 41-27.
Well, that's not a bad score either. It's a high-scoring game. So, all right. I'm going to wrap up with this, Eric. Just for me, is if the Rams win this game against the Cardinals, we know what it does for the Rams. It keeps them at 5-2, a half-game lead over Seattle. You know Seattle's going to win this week, or at least you have to assume they are, which means next week you have a bye week, and you take your chances with maybe Seattle losing there. Otherwise, you're going to fall to second regardless because you have a bye week. If the Rams lose this game in London, I don't think it hurts them as much as it would in a normal setting in the sense that it's yet another road game, even though it's a home game. But here's another reason why I'm pretty confident the Rams are going to win. Their road record this year is 3-0. And they're 1-2 at home. So I think I look at this game and I go, it's another road game for the Rams. They've already proven they can win on the road. They're kind of the road warriors this year, and they needed to be. How big of a game is this for the Rams? Because while I don't think it's big in the sense that the Cardinals would be back in the playoff, back in the division race picture. I agree with all that, but it's a road game for the Rams. They're going to get a stretch of home games here coming up. I think the Rams need to win it, but I'm not going to sit here and give up on the season if the Rams fall to 4-3 going home next week. Am I grossly underestimating this game?
No, not at all.
Okay. So you feel the same way?
I was just thinking about this as you were talking. I think the NFL should add another step to the standings. They have one loss record, home, road, conference, division, blah blah blah. London is 6 hours away from New York, basically. It's a long flight, maybe 4.5, 5 hours. It's a long flight. I think they should add in a London standings, because I don't think it should count as a home game. Because if the Rams win, technically then they're 2-2 at home, but they're really not home. They're playing on a different continent.
Right.
They're playing across the ocean. There's something home about the Rams being home when they're 7,000 miles away from LA. Yeah. So they should put in a London stamp saying, London, 1-0, only one type of stuff. It's not a home game. It's more of a road game than anything.
It really is. And I think, it's a neutral site. And there's a reason the Super Bowl's played a neutral site. It doesn't want to give the team a home field advantage. you can't then turn around a regular season game and say that this is an advantage for the Rams. They're home. No, they're not. You've taken the only advantage they had away. I know the Rams had to do this to make the move from St. Louis to LA happen. I just want to know what the hell the NFL was thinking. You want the team to be successful in LA, yet you're taking a home game away from the fans of LA, and you're putting the team in a position where failure is high. Meaning, losing in London, it's a 50-50 proposition. There is no, oh, well, it definitely favors the Rams under these circumstances, or it's not. It's 50-50. We don't know how this game's going to go ultimately, one way or the other. So I just think it's a tremendous disadvantage for the home team. And really, it's a neutral advantage. It's like really 50-50 for the road team because, like, well, we're away anyway, so it doesn't matter. But it really does take the advantage away from the offense or from the home team. And I hate it. I'm glad that the Rams said what they said about it. They're in London again next year. Then in 2019, they go to China, which I think is absolutely preposterous. You're going to go to a communist republic and play a game. Why not go to Japan? I don't understand China being the reason here. But whatever, the NFL's stupid, and they're obviously political.
The NFL's trying to get football globally, so.
Go to Japan. You're still global. You're still global.
Football globally is basically soccer. And soccer is pretty much accepted everywhere, pretty much except the United States, really. I know they want to grow the game globally, but going to China, I hope they have a 2-week, 5 weeks afterwards, because I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's bad enough when they go to Mexico City and they got to breathe the air pollution there. It's bad enough going over to London because you're going over the ocean. I'm not saying planes are going to go down in the ocean or anything like that. It's not
but it's a risk.
The Titanic or anything, but
it's a risk.
Yeah, it's always a risk.
And then you go to China and you've got one of the worst governments in the world there. And you're giving them money, essentially, because they had to pay to go there, and it's the most polluted country in the world. So if pollution's a problem in Mexico City, imagine the problem it's going to be in China, where the UN refuses to have any kind of restrictions on their economy at all. So I just sit there and I'm like, okay. I mean, look, LA smog, we all know that's a problem, but whatever. It is what it is. It's just, you don't need to go global. That's the point. You're not soccer. You're never going to be soccer. And if you really think you're going to compete with these foreign countries in soccer, then Roger Goodell needs to be fired because he's truly the dumbest human being I've ever met. I mean, I already knew he was stupid. You move the extra point for no apparent reason whatsoever. None whatsoever. Zero. It's had no bearing whatsoever on the outcome, in my opinion, of games. Because, yeah, there's fewer extra points being missed, but if you're losing because of 1 point, there's a lot of other reasons for it. And I haven't seen one game like the Thursday night game. Did it go into overtime because the extra point was moved? You know when this mattered, Eric? It mattered when they moved the extra point back and teams were allowed to leap the center. That's when it had a tremendous advantage. Like, wow, this extra point's risky. Now it's not risky.
There was no missed extra point. It was field goals by Harrison Butker.
Yeah.
2 field goals. That's how they got the third.
That's what I'm saying. At the end of the game didn't go in overtime because the Raiders kicker missed the extra point. I've never watched a game.
That was the game of prior weeks of Chargers.
I understand that. And yes, it does happen from time to time. But you know what? I guarantee you, when we look at the 10-year time window, you're going to see the percentage not be very different. You're not. And the only time it was different was in the first year and a half of it because you could leap the center, which I think was a great football play, and I don't know why they took it away. Another dumb decision by Goodell. And now you're going to go global because you think you can compete with other sports. You're an idiot. So the bottom line is, I want to do a rant on the London thing because I think there's no advantage to the home team. In fact, it's a disadvantage. and it swings the advantage of being at home to the road team because you're taking away that element. And if you truly wanted the Rams to be successful in LA, and you meant all of those things that you said, then the Rams' road games should be in London, not their home game. Because you know what LA has that no other team in the NFL has? 7 home games a year for the next 4 years.
Jacksonville.
Well, that's a home game for Jacksonville. They never seem to lose it. You're right. Let me rephrase that. You know what LA has that no team in the NFC has? 7 home games every year for 4 years. Touche on the Jaguars. Good call. Anyway, do you want to wrap up? Because I know this is your deal. Do you want to wrap up with it?
Really quick, I do want to add 2 quick notes. And the first one is to give you a chance to change your mind. Monday night game, no Josh Norman for the Redskins quarterback. So if you want to change your pick to Philadelphia, let me know.
Yeah.
Second, before you do, if you do decide to change your mind, the Rams haven't started 5-2 since 2003.
Wow.
So if they're able to do that, they're going to end up having a winning record, and they're also going to, in my opinion, make the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big game. It is a big game in that respect when you put it in that context. Yeah, I'll probably switch my pick to Philadelphia, 34-28 Eagles. I think it's going to be a close game either way. I just think with no Allen and no Norman, I think that's too much for the Redskins defense to overcome against a good team. So, yeah, I will change my pick. I can't change my pick in my pool, but I will change my pick on here, and I will go with the Eagles winning that one. For my show. So I'm changing that right now. I'll go 34-28 Eagles, and then I'll laugh my rear end off when the Redskins win, and I turned out to change my pick. But I do think that's too much to overcome for the Redskins. So, all right, well, hey, 56-minute show. We got in under an hour. So thanks for watching LA Rams Central. I'm Anthony. Eric, go.
And I'm Eric.
And thanks for watching, and go Rams!